of metaphor you want to use there. Um, Jared Goff, pretty clutch performance there. Amonra St. Brown finding him in the end zone with the buzzer beating touchdown. You don't see too many of those. I feel really good for Dan Campbell. And I feel a little better for Jared Goff after watching his girlfriend celebrate the win. Did you guys see this? He's
I did not.
with this Sports Illustrated model, and wow, she was very excited for his victory. And this guy might not be winning on the field, but off the field,
There
he's
you
winning.
go. There you go,
I
Graham.
Yeah.
mean, if you can get a Victoria's Secrets model to celebrate anything of mine, I'd be happy.
I mean, it's Sports Illustrated, which is it's not quite in the same vein as Victoria's
Oh,
Secret, but
whatever.
I mean,
Same
gosh, she was
difference.
jumping up and down and celebrated, and let me tell you, it was she was very happy.
She was very happy. Were the how do we keep this PG? Were the puppies having more puppies?
Quite possibly. I think I've
To
got
hell
lost
with
in the
PG.
sausage
Can I
bit
find
here,
this
but
girl on Pornhub or what?
oh, I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's a little bit too
Oh, Michelle was down here. She
check
just came
your
around the corner.
inbox in February. Oh no, the Sports Illustrated calendar comes out in June now. I think they mix it up or May.
That's
Anyways, we're getting a little bit off the rails here. I saw that and I was just like, way to go, Jared.
That's what we
Is
do
with these
here, Grant.
models?
Yeah.
They
This is your
always
first
go
time
for
on the Man Hour, Graham?
Yeah, it must be.
All we do is go off the rails.
Well, you guys seen Mike Zimmer's little lady friend, right? She's a Pornhub model, and she is pretty good looking. You can find her in Pornhub. So the Vikings come in at number
You think he paid
22
for her. I think he paid for her.
Probably. The Vikings at 22, Graham? Come on, man. Better than the Seahawks? Better than the Bears? Better than the Saints? Falcons? Panthers? What?
Well, I mean, the Seahawks and a couple of those teams are only have 4 wins. Bears are 4-8. I think Combs keeps saying they should be in somewhere in the mid 30s, which I don't know how they do that.
I
A
put
few
him at
college teams
41
ahead of
now
them.
after the
41.
last weekend. 41.
Okay, so a few more college teams might slide ahead of them. Look, Vikings,
Yeah.
we've seen some really good performances out of them. They beat the Packers. They beat a couple of decent teams, but that was a damaging loss. But I mean, 5-7, they're still in the mix for those last couple of spots in the NFC. It's just a weird year. 6-6, Washington football team is the number 6 team. 6 seed in the NFC. 6-6 Denver Broncos, number 13 seed in the AFC. So parity is really ruling right now. There's a lot of okay teams. So a lot of those teams I kind of have bunched up together. And I think you'll notice teams like the Dolphins and the Eagles, who have been pretty successful lately, especially the Dolphins, winners of 5 straight. They might get a bit of a leg up on some of those teams just because of some of the momentum that they've carried over the last month or so.
Yeah, so Graham, I actually found a very interesting stat earlier in the week here. The Minnesota Vikings is the only team to have a 7-point lead in every game this season, but yet they're only 5-7. So something is definitely not clicking over there in Minnesota. But you guys, you can get the bottom half of the power rankings here on Twitter. I'll get those posted tomorrow. Work was crazy today. I actually just got off work about an hour before the show started. But let's start out at number 10, Graham. And you do have the Chargers. Why do you got them there?
I thought it was a really nice bounce back performance against the Cincinnati Bengals. They got off to a quick start. They allowed Cincinnati back into this game. And then it was a big time fumble recovery, scoop and score, courtesy of Joe Mixon. He's the guy who fumbled the ball. Can't think of the defender's name, but they were able to race to that touchdown and really kind of kept the Bengals at bay. Look, I really like this team. I still think they have a chance to win the AFC East, even though they're a game behind the Chiefs right now. They did win that first head-to-head matchup. I like the confidence that Brandon Staley shows in his guys. They're going for it on 4th down. I believe more than just about any other team. Pretty high rate of success with that as well. I've been reading about that quite a bit. So I like this team. I like Justin Herbert. He's shown some inconsistency throughout the season, but when he's on, he's about as good a thrower as there is. So I think it's there for them. It might be a bit of a developmental year after a kind of a down 7-9 campaign last year. But like I said, I think it's all there for them. If they could find a way to beat the Chiefs in the rematch, they have a really good chance to win that division.
Combs, thoughts?
Yeah. I don't have any problems with the Chargers there. I definitely think they're one of the 10 best teams in the NFL right now. Even though they lost that game on Monday night, I still have a hard time keeping Buffalo outside of the top 10. Especially, they've only got they've got the 5 losses on the year, but they haven't lost 2 games in a row since October 4th. They also haven't won 2 games in a row since
Yeah.
October 4th. But I still feel like that team, just based on talent alone, should get some consideration for the top 10. But the fact that you got them outside of the top 10, I mean, I can't really call you a homer on that. So I'm okay with the Chargers here at 10.
All right, so guys, coming in at number 9, Graham at Bus Wallace on the Toyota machine does have the Tennessee Titans. They are 8-4 on the season. So they're still first in AFC South, but they are on a 2-game losing streak. Graham, explain yourself, big guy.
Well, I mean, I just kind of kept them where they had them last week. They had the bye week. They had a bit of a late bye. This upcoming week is the last week of the last bye weeks of the season. Patriots and a few other teams. So we're going to have the last 4 weeks of the season. There's going to be 16 games apiece, which is pretty cool. I think Titans are having a good season. They have 5 games left. Their schedule isn't particularly challenging. I think they could find a way to win at least if they can win 3 of those games, they could most likely win that division still, hold off the Colts, who they've beaten in both of their matchups head to head, and, probably get a 3 or 4 seed in the playoffs. I don't feel as good about this team as I did obviously before King Henry went down. They have showed an ability, however, still to run the ball, which is such a huge part of their identity. Tannehill needs to do a better job protecting the ball. That defense is still, I'd say, a top 10 unit.
Oh yeah.
Especially been really impressed with Jeffrey Simmons on the front line and also Kevin Byard, the safety there, who's been a multiple-time Pro Bowler.
Yeah, so I think the magic number for the Tennessee Titans is 10 wins. I think that 10 win mark will let them win the division. So looking at their schedule moving forward, they do have the Jaguars, Steelers, 49ers, Dolphins, and Texans. So first things first is Jaguars, Texans jump off at the screen. I'm saying those are easy wins. There is your 10, right? But we saw them lost to Houston just a couple weeks ago. Miami Dolphins are actually surging up. The 49ers are starting to come around as well. Steelers might be riding on the Big Ben momentum train as well. If they lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Do they miss the playoffs if they lose to the Jaguars this weekend?
No. I would simply say that after the top 4 or 5 teams in the AFC, there's a big drop off there. You're talking about teams like the Raiders, who have been really shaky for a month plus, the Denver Broncos. Cincinnati Bengals have been good, but they've also been pretty erratic this season. You don't know what you're going to get with them. Pittsburgh Steelers, we just talked about them. They've looked terrible at times this season. They lost to Cincinnati both times, including one by 31 points. So you don't really know what you're going to get out of them. Are the Miami Dolphins going to continue to win ball games? Who knows? They have a late bye as well, so they could be energized by that, like what I've seen out of Brian Flores' team over the last 5 games. So I still think they'd find a way to win it, even if they lost that game to Jacksonville. I just think they'll be able to find a way to beat Houston and maybe the 49ers, one of those other games. But I do think they'll end up at 11 wins, actually.
Yeah, so thinking we're going to end up at 11 wins, the LA Rams were on pace to have a world beater season, but they have fallen 8-4 and second in the NFC West now, and that's exactly who comes in at number 8. Are the Rams still the real deal, or are we still starting to kind of question them a little bit more, Graham?
Yeah, that's really fair. I think it's very fair to question this team if you think about how they played during that 3-game losing streak. Matt Stafford was making some really bad throws. Odell Beckham Jr., you could really question the fit there. However, I still really like this defense. If you think about Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, 2 of the best at their positions. They have some pretty good linebackers as well. They have a big game Monday night. They're going to go into the desert, face the Arizona Cardinals, who have been at or near the top of my rankings almost throughout the entire season. So I think this is a big game. I didn't want to overreact to them beating the Jacksonville Jaguars by 30 points. They're not a good team at all. So it was a good get right win, but I still need to see a bit more from this team. And I'd like to see them at least be competitive with the Cardinals. And if they could find a way to win that game, the division is still within reach.
Yeah, and here, Graham, is where I'm probably going to have the most problem with your power rankings to this point. Is probably like you. I said I had a hard time keeping the Buffalo Bills out of the top 10, and I think your last 2 teams is where I could probably flip flop one of these 2 down and out of the top 10. put them at 10 and sneak Buffalo in, at maybe 9, because I think Buffalo's still better than both these teams. The Rams have lost 3 out of their last 4, and then even their last 5 wins have come against the Seahawks, the Giants, the Lions, the Texans, and the Jaguars. So it's not like, they're out there beating good teams. Every time they play a good team, they have a letdown game, including that 3-game losing streak that we just had. They played 3 really good teams and had letdown games, only scoring 10 points against the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, like, everybody's scoring on the San Francisco 49ers this year. So
Yeah.
this is one of those teams where I think gets a pass just because they play in the NFC West and their name is the Rams and they started out really good and we have a hard time keeping them out. And whereas the Buffalo Bills have struggled and win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, and lose this tough game to the Patriots, I almost put more stock in what they've been doing over the last 4 weeks than I do with anything that I put in with the Titans or the Rams.
Yeah, the main thing that's really troubling me about the Buffalo Bills is the middle of that defense. We saw it against the
Yeah.
Colts and we saw it again against the Patriots. Over 200 yards rushing. Matt Milano is a really good player, but their linebackers are small and they a lot of times they play a 4-2-5 kind of scheme and the middle of that defense is wide open. I don't know why they weren't stacking the line a bit more because like I said, everyone in the stadium and everyone watching at home knew the
Yeah.
Patriots are going to run time after time and they couldn't find a way to stop it. So that's really concerning me. Uh, more than any area of weakness on any of those other 2 teams, and it could
Who
be a
did you have
reason.
at 11 and 12?
Pardon me, sorry?
Who
Oh,
did you have
11
at
and
11 and
12, I
12?
have
The
the Buffalo
Bills and
Bills
Cincinnati.
and the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, see, and those
So
are 2 teams that right now I would take over either the Titans or the Rams right now, because I think that
Mm,
the the Bengals are probably the toughest team in the NFL to figure out, right?
yeah.
yeah,
Because there are times where you're like, wow, they might not win this game, and they come out and win the game by 40. And then there are times where you're like, yeah, they should roll this game, and they win by 2 or 3, or they lose the damn game. So they're
yeah,
probably one of the hardest teams in the NFL to figure out. But I think that what they've done, their body of work right now, is better than what the Titans are going to do without Derrick Henry. I feel like the Bills are still a better team right now overall than the Rams. They've just had a tough stretch of games. They've had a tough stretch of the way that they're playing. Their game plan just has not been that great as of late. I'm not a big believer in what they're getting there out of their head coach, but I still feel like the overall body of work and the eye test, if you will, would tell you that you might take the Bills or the Bengals over either the Titans or the Rams.
yeah, it's close, certainly. There was, some consideration there, that I gave it, I ended up kinda going with the hot hand, if you will. Again, I didn't wanna
Yeah.
overreact to the win over the Jaguars, I didn't wanna put the Rams up too high, um, and I still need to see more from them. If you think about Sean McVay, that big smile on his face and the spiky hair and hugging Matt Stafford, we haven't really seen that, since going back to September. So, they still have a lot of things that they can accomplish this season, but they have to play better, certainly.
And feel free to just tell me to get my own damn rankings, Graham. I mean, it's okay. I'm just,
Well, you're doing your job. You gotta poke holes in my rankings. That's what it's all about. If we all agreed, it wouldn't be any fun.
Well, and then
right.
speaking of poking holes, this is where I'm going to start poking holes. Is number
Yeah.
7, and that's with the Baltimore Ravens. They are another 8-4 team. They are first in the AFC North right now. But the Baltimore Ravens offense have only scored 1 touchdown in the last 5 games per game. So that is a far cry from the 3 touchdown performances that we've been seeing from that trash the quarterback of named Lamar Jackson. So Baltimore Ravens at number 7, Graham. Tell me why. Sell me on
Well,
it.
yeah, okay. I mean, 8-4, they could still win the AFC. They could still be the number 1 seed in the AFC. I know they're right now a half game behind the New England Patriots, but all they need to do is win their next game while the Patriots are sitting at home on their couch and they're tied again. I believe they won the head to head earlier between those teams as well. Look, I just think the pressure on Lamar Jackson, and I mean literally the pressure from the defense because his line's been terrible, is really starting to get to him. He's forcing throws. He's starting to do things that he really shouldn't do. And let's be honest, I mean, I know he was under the gun there a little bit from TJ Watt, but there's no way he should have whipped that ball to Mark Andrews. If he just sailed, lofted that in, nice little floater, he definitely would have hauled it in and they would have won that ball game. Then we're talking about a 9-3 team and alone in first place in the AFC. Look, they've been winning ugly and losing ugly, for that matter, all season. So I just think it's one of those years that it's a mucky team. John Harbaugh is going to find a way to get this ship steered in the right direction. Um, they've won a lot of close games. They lost a really ugly close game um, on Sunday, but like I said, it's still all there for them. If they could find a way to finish strong, they could easily still achieve 12 wins, which might be good enough for the top seed in the AFC.
Well, yeah, I mean, that would definitely be enough to get a playoff berth in the AFC North. But right now, Graham, I have been on record saying that since they lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens will not make the playoffs this season because of the record, or sorry, the schedule that they have moving forward. They do play the Browns again, a very bipolar Browns team. We are talking about Cincinnati being bipolar. Browns are just as bipolar. And then they play the Packers, and then play the Bengals and the Rams and the Steelers. They could very easily not win another game for the rest
Right.
of the season, Graham.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, they could lose their last 5 games, sure, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to find a way to switch it up, find a way to do something different as far as their line's concerned. Sorry, just trying to get my computer charged in here, and you know. Just find a different game plan. We see it with Bill Belichick, a different game plan every week. He prepares for that opponent. He's got to try to you can't just get the line to block better, but if they can find some different schemes, maybe mix it up with some RPO, some play action, different things, get the defense to force some turnovers, maybe get a play on special teams. I have faith that they could win at least 3 of their final games,
Yeah,
and be in a strong position for the playoffs.
yeah. So only time will tell here. But speaking of time will tell, oh, imagine that we have another 8-4 team in the top 10 of the NFL power rankings, and that is the Dallas Cowboys. They're coming in at number 6. Sell Combs and why is they're a top 10 team, because Combs is not like the Dallas Cowboys at all this season.
Yeah, I mean, it was a game they just had to win. Let's be honest. Thursday night football, New Orleans Saints, a team that's kind of had a tough stretch of games. I believe they're losers of 5 in a row now. They needed to win this game. Did they blow the Saints away in a way that made you think, "Oh, this is an elite team"? No, they didn't. Tony Pollard had a nice touchdown run that kind of helped them kind of get away, run away in that game, if you will. But it wasn't necessarily an impressive showing. However, they're in a great position in the NFC. Their lead has decreased down to 2 games over the Washington football team, 2.5 over the Philadelphia Eagles. Um, but I have confidence in Dak Prescott. I like what I've seen out of Tony Pollard. Let's just be honest, he's better than Ezekiel Elliott. Ezekiel Elliott. He is. He has been this year, the whole season. He's averaging more yards per carry. He's more of a factor in the passing game. I think once this team gets completely healthy, they're still very dangerous. The problem has been at times the defense, especially the secondary. Anthony Brown is just holding on to whatever he can, getting multiple pass interference penalties, and that's never good. So if they could just find a way to be decent on defense, they still have a top offense that could outscore teams on most days.
So I found the key to unlocking Graham's power rankings week to week. If you're in the top 5, it's because you're really really good and you've done some you've had some really good wins. If you're in the bottom 5, it's because he can't decipher whether or not you're a good or bad team, and the rest of them are just okay. Because look, your number 9 team, the Tennessee Titans, is 2-2 in their last 4. Your number 8 team in the Los Angeles Rams has lost 3 out of their last 5. Your the number 7 team in the Ravens is 3-3 in their last 6. The Dallas Cowboys, who are the number 6 team, have lost 3 out of their last 5. So these are teams that just, I mean, they started out hot and just have not been playing well of late. I think that not only does, and I'm joking around with you a little bit here, Graham, but
Yeah.
I just think that this part of it really speaks to the parity in the NFL, right? Because
Yes.
these are your top 10 teams in the NFL. Your bottom 5 of your top 10, most of them have lost 3. They don't even have winning records in their last 5 games. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? So
I do.
the parity in the NFL is insane. I think that the Cowboys are a little high here. I don't. I'm not a big believer. Look, in the biggest reason why I'm not a believer in this team is Mike McCarthy. I'm just not.
Yeah.
Mike McCarthy kills it for me. I think do they belong in the top 10? Yes. But are they better than some of these teams that we're naming ahead of them? Even the teams that I said maybe don't belong in the top 10, like the Rams and the Titans. I think that they're better teams than the Dallas Cowboys. I think that the Tennessee Titans without Derrick Henry could beat the Dallas Cowboys.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. You made some good points there. I'm not a huge Mike McCarthy guy myself. I actually have more faith in Kellen Moore, who's I think is going to be on the sideline as a head coach next season. Actually, my only retort to that really is how many really good teams are there in the NFL? Right now, there's probably only about 4 or 5 teams that you could really hitch your wagon behind and say, you know what, this is a very good team. They have an excellent chance to go to the Super Bowl. After that, it's a bunch of decent teams, and then you've got another kind of subsection of like okay teams or really inconsistent teams like the Vikings or the 49ers
Yeah.
or the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I get what you're saying. That's definitely, I don't even disagree with a lot of what you said. It's hard to come out with these rankings. I guess I could say come out with your own damn rankings, but that's not really my style. I'm too nice a guy, I guess. But it's tough. I try to put some thought into these. I try to find some time during
You're
a
right.
work day or whatever, a break here and there. But
And
I do the
I
best I
guess my
can.
point is,
What
I
can I
bet
say?
you if you go to the bottom half of those rankings, take 11 through 15, 11 through 15 or 11 through 32 if you want. I bet you don't find many teams there that have winning records in the last 5 games either. That's what I'm saying. The parity in this game right now in the NFL is probably better than we've ever seen it.
Yeah, I mean, right now you've got the New England Patriots, winners of 7 in a row. Who are the
Yeah,
other teams who are hot? You got the Kansas City Chiefs, I believe they've won 5 in a row,
Yep.
5 in a row.
and then
Yep.
you've got the Miami Dolphins who've won 5 in a row, but they're 6
And
and
the
7.
Arizona Cardinals.
Arizona Cardinals, that's when you're starting to get into a team that, like, I think I could call this a great
Elite.
team. This
Yeah.
season, they might be the best team in the NFL. I know, Buck, you're not quite there yet. Combs and I are losing our
Well,
mind
Buck's
about
an
that, but
idiot.
that's okay. But I guess we should move into the top 5. What do you say, guys?
Yeah, definitely. So speaking of hitching your wagon behind a team, Kansas City Chiefs have won 5 in a row, and imagine that
Oh,
they
see what
are
he did there?
they are another
Yeah.
8-4 team, first team in the AFC West. Mr. Bus Wallace at the Twitter machine there. Are the Kansas City Chiefs one of your Super Bowl teams that you're getting behind?
Stop grinning, Buck.
They
Stop grinning.
definitely could get back there. And the
Championship
funny
Holmes.
thing is, what if I told you 8 months ago that the Chiefs are going to be Super Bowl bound, and it had almost nothing to do with Patrick Mahomes? They're
Liar.
winning despite of him. They're winning because of this
Yeah.
awesome defense that's just
Yeah.
swarming teams. Chris Jones, Steve Spagnuolo, they're just all over it. And Pat Mahomes has had, I
The
believe, his
offense has
last
been
5
shaky though, right?
home
Offense
games.
has been shaky.
Yeah, his passer ranking is always, or rating is always in the 70s, which is just
Yeah.
mediocre. I don't know what's happening. He's throwing these lasers, and the receivers can't handle it. A lot of the interceptions are off tips, which aren't all his fault. But I think sometimes he doesn't always need to throw the lasers when it's a quick slant or something like that. You
Yeah.
saw that come off the hands of Tyreek Hill right into the arms of the defender. Pretty easy game for them against the Broncos, but still, what would they put up? 22 points. I know
Yep.
Denver has a good defense and everything, but man, I'd like to see them have a good 40 burger or something like that before the end of the season. And I'm not convinced it's happened. Like, is he broken?
And
I'm not saying
before
he
He
is,
is.
but he's been bad this season.
before Buck
Overall.
goes off and lets you know how good his Kansas City Chiefs are and blah 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 blah. Okay, let's keep in mind that you don't have to pander to this man. This man, he keeps putting that Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl champion hat out there. But let's notice that the other night he was wearing a Dallas Cowboys hat. He's got a Packers flag in the background, and right now he's got an ugly Christmas sweater in Denver Bronco colors
Hey, no,
sitting
what?
on his damn body right
First
now.
of all, this is the
Those
best.
are Denver Bronco colors.
There's an
It is.
RV, Clark.
That
Come
That-
on, man.
It's still Denver Bronco colors.
on.
Tell me that's not a Denver Bronco color.
It's red
That
and
looks like
blue, Combs.
New York
What are you-
Giants to me, or
Yeah.
Buffalo Bills.
That is orange. That is orange and blue.
Are you
Those
freaking
Denver
colorblind?
Broncos.
I
But
guess
whatever.
we're colorblind, baby. I
Yes.
like the sweater though, Buck.
Yeah,
I'm not
thank
gonna
you. I
lie.
definitely appreciate it. But just to add to your point there, Patrick Mahomes is broken. Since that turf toe injury and the AFC Championship game, he has not been him same self. Also, to add add to your point there, Graham, Patrick Mahomes has a QBR ranking of 46.5 at home this season. There is no home cooking in Kansas City whatsoever. So, first of all, disclaimer: the Kansas City Chiefs are my team, but they are not a top 10 team, Graham. Like they are arguably the worst division leader in all of the NFL right now. They are the worst 8-4 team in the NFL right now. The Kansas City Chiefs, if they did not beat the Denver Broncos, we are looking at them not even making the playoffs this year. Them beating the Broncos.
See what he's doing here, right? This is classic Buck reverse psychology. I'm going to tell you how bad the Kansas City Chiefs are because I want them to keep winning and keep doing this. Because ever since I said how bad they were, and since I said hashtag bench Mahomes, they haven't lost a game.
They haven't. But look at these scores: 20-17 versus the Giants, 13-7 versus the Packers without Aaron Rodgers. We'll just skim over that Raiders game because that's when the whole DUI car wreck happened. They fired John Gruden, and they had another receiver get hurt as well. And then the Dallas Cowboys 19-9, and then the Broncos 22-9. Yeah, the Chiefs are just not good right now. Now the defense is great. Also,
defense is elite lately. Yeah.
Also, after my hashtag fire Steve Spagnuolo, they've done well as well. No clout there, but they're not good. Sorry, guys. And then,
well
go
you're
ahead.
Stupid.
What are we going to say?
We'll see what happens the rest of the season. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, so speaking of number 4, a team that is good, the Green Bay Packers, Graham. Boast on those guys. Boast on them. Get them up.
Oh, wave your flag, Buck.
The Green Bay Packers have been about as consistent a team, taking away that week 1 debacle against the New Orleans Saints. Also, the game Aaron Rodgers didn't play. Obviously, Jordan Love is not ready for prime time. I don't even think he could play in the CFL, honestly. So this has been one of the, if you take away those 2 games, this has been one of the most consistent teams all season. Joe Barry's got that defense flying around. I was just on social media before I hopped on with you guys. Is Aaron Rodgers really not going to play this week? And Kurt is he going to be on the active roster? I saw this thing and I'm like, I have no idea who this guy is.
I have not heard anything, but I did hear he wasn't having toe surgery. And they do have a bye week next week, right? Combs, is their bye week next week? I think I'm not for sure. Or their bye was
they've already had their bye week.
Yeah, so as far as I know, Aaron Rodgers is playing. He's playing through his little.
Rodgers is playing on
okay,
Sunday.
so Pro Football Talk. Aaron Rodgers not practicing Wednesday. Ben Kurt to take all QB reps.
Oh well, so he hasn't practiced Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for the last 3 weeks. So either.
Okay, so that's very common. I'd be very surprised if he didn't play. But I think it kind of speaks volumes to how they think about Jordan Love if he's not even going to be the backup.
He's on the COVID list.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm missing out on some of that news. Okay, sorry about that, guys.
There's no way he's not going to play against a team that he says he's part owner of.
Oh, they're playing the Bears, right? Okay, I own you, all that. Okay. This Packers is another one of those teams. They definitely could run the table. Honestly, I don't have a ton of confidence in Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. We've seen it time after time. He'll get to the big game, he'll get to the championship game, and they don't win. So I think they could probably definitely get back there. Will they get to the Super Bowl? I don't know, probably not. But they're looking like at least a championship team as far as getting there to the NFC Championship game, and the defense has been a lot better than I thought it would be.
And this is another team that you look at and you're like, look, top 4 team in the league. They're 2-2 in their last 4.
Yeah,
they lost that 13-7 game to the Chiefs without Aaron Rodgers, so you could say that was actually for their team and for the morale and the I guess the ego. It's kind of a boost for you, right? You go into Kansas City, one of the hardest places in the NFL to play, and you only lose 13-7 without your top wide receiver, without your quarterback.
Yeah,
I mean that's a win. And then they beat the Seahawks 17-0. I think you and Buck could beat the Seahawks 17-0 right about now. Then they lose to the Vikings in Minnesota, and then they go out and they beat the Rams last week. They're gonna murder the Bears. They're gonna. I mean, look, Aaron Rodgers is gonna have a 7 touchdown game. just to prove how much he owns the Bears. They're going to murder this team. The Bears are terrible. They asked Aaron Rodgers, do you regret the I still own the Bears comment? And are you worried about retribution this weekend? I would have laughed at that question. Retribution from
Yeah.
what? Is Matt Nagy still their head coach? What do you mean
Uh,
retribution?
yeah, last time I checked, bring back the fridge. Let him
Yeah.
coach a game.
No,
It,
I
it,
don't have a problem with the Packers at 4. I actually think that they are one of the best teams in the NFL. I think you could actually put them. You could have put them at 2, and I would have been okay with it.
yeah,
This team is very very good. Aaron Rodgers is one of the top 5 quarterbacks of all time. I don't think there's any question of that. For me, I have him at 2. I have him right behind Tom Brady all time. As much as I hate to say that, as much as I want to throw up in my mouth every time I see the damn guy's face, I think that he's one of the top 5 quarterbacks of all time. And this team is playing a little bit different under him this year. They're not the same explosive as they've been. I kind of think that they're kind of sitting on their heels a little bit, waiting to explode come playoff time. I think that they feel like they put too much into it in the regular season. They go out there, they end up the season, whatever, 13-3 or 12-4 or 14-2,
yep.
and then they get blown out in the playoff, blown not blown out in the playoffs, but they get knocked out of the playoffs. And I mean, I think they're tired of doing that. I think they're pacing themselves. I think a la the Kansas City Chiefs the last couple of years, pacing themselves into the playoffs. And then that's when they're going to really come out and really show up.
Well, that's the last hurdle. Last two seasons, 13-3. 2 years ago, 49ers blew the doors off in the NFC Championship game last year. It seems like they had Tampa Bay right where they wanted them in the frozen tundra of
If
Lambeau
he would have
Field.
ran that
Well,
ball into the corner of the end zone, they would have been in the Super Bowl.
He wouldn't
Well,
have
and then
made
they
it.
kicked a field goal, never got the ball back. So very questionable decisions there by Matt LaFleur, but nevertheless, they came up just short. That's the only question mark for me. Can they get to the big game and can they win it? I don't think they will, but anyways, down to the last couple of, or sorry, top 3 teams here now.
Yeah, so let's just go ahead and throw the top 3 teams out there right now. At number 1,
Yeah,
you do have the Arizona Cardinals, not changed from last week. At number 2, you had the Tampa
no.
Bay Buccaneers, not changed from last week either. But you do have the New England Patriots sliding into the number 3 range. How are they not higher, Graham?
Um, that's a good question. They're definitely, they're the top seed in the AFC, I should say, but that's been a really shaky conference for the most part. I talked about, the Denver Broncos with their 6-6 record, currently being the 13 seed. Really, only the Texans and Jaguars and Jets are the only teams that are really out of it in that conference. Um, could they be higher? I guess they could be, but I think that's kind of where they belong right now. Um, Mac Jones has had a really good season, but he didn't have a ton to do with their win over the Buffalo Bills. He handed the ball off very well, and he completed a high percentage of his 3 pass attempts. He completed 2 of those, but the defense is playing at a really high level. Matt Judon is looking like a defensive player of the year candidate. Certainly, T.J. Watt is another name that comes to mind there. But this is almost a more frustrating team to play against as a Bills fan because it seems like you should be able to beat them, but you line up, you play the game, and they end up on the winning side of the score. So a great coaching job. I know everyone's been kind of pounding this drum, and I hate to say this, but another great coaching job by Bill Belichick. They're
Mhm.
another team that could certainly get there. And I think Combs said it, like Bucks, Pats, Super Bowl. I think a lot of people are licking their chops at the prospect of that.
Dude, I look, my Bears are out of it, regardless of what Fox says and how they say they're still in the hunt. The Bears are out of it. The Bears have no chance. So now I'm rooting for a Bucks Pats Super Bowl. I would
Oh
love
my
to see
God.
Brady versus Belichick in the Super Bowl. I think it would just all the drama, all the things that you could talk about, all of the fun things that would happen, heading into the game.